Manchester City. Everybody would be singing their praises. Look, I'm not going to say is Mo Salah underrated, because I think there's lots of debate about how good he is. But where would you put him? Is there a shout for him to be the best player in Europe at the moment?
Probably at the moment, his form, you could put him up there. I'm trying to think of who else is playing as good as he's playing right now, and it's very hard for it to just jump out at you because he is playing so well. I'd say his first season, when I was very surprised that he came, when Liverpool signed Mo Salah, I was thinking, oh, Mo Salah, interesting. But the season he had, you're thinking, my gosh, amazing. He seems to me to have got back to that form at this stage. He is, for me at the moment, he probably is in the best form of his career, and he's probably the best in Europe at the moment.
I wonder if one of the reasons that we talk about, I mean, you know, we see him score all different kinds of goals, which is not bad for a winger, which is what he describes himself as. But I wonder, Paul, if one of the reasons why it maybe feels as though he isn't in that bracket is because he's always mentioned along with two other players, whoever the front two or whoever the other two of the front three playing alongside him are.
Yeah, probably right. Yeah, I think obviously whether it's Mane or whether it's Firmino or Jota, you know, they're like the three musketeers, so to speak. So but what he's done, and I think this is someone, you know, there was a lot of talk about him going to Real Madrid a year ago. You know, was he happy at Liverpool? You know, he's been there a long time, and he's played more or less every game. Let's not forget that. And the way Klopp wants to play, with pressing from the front, they've done it time and time again. So Ian's spot on. To see him as he is now, he looks refreshed, he looks ready to go again. Last year, when they were going for the title, yeah, I get Van Dijk was out and Matic was out and Gomez. They had chances galore, they wasn't going in. It was like they was playing under pressure. This year, even Mane to a certain degree, they're getting chances and they're being so clinical. And I think, you know, you mentioned Messi and Ronaldo. You know, the way he's playing, if he keeps doing that consistently year after year, he'd be mentioned along those guys, that's for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's been really interesting has been, you know, as Paul was saying, his journey to this point, because it didn't work out for him at Chelsea. He goes off, plays at Roma, and then comes back to the Premier League. And he's talked a lot about the fact he felt he had a point to prove when he came back.
Yeah, he did, because, as you say, they didn't... I don't think it was that they didn't rate him. They just weren't prepared to give him the time that he needed to develop at Chelsea. So he went elsewhere, went to Roma and really did develop, came back, and he was indulged at Liverpool and given the confidence of the manager. And what they did, certainly when they brought in Van Dijk, is they gave him the platform to think about going forward rather than back. But having said that, I remember being at Bournemouth once and seeing him truck 70 yards back to help out their defence. So shirked that particular duty. But you know, when you talk about that journey and is he underrated, which was one of the first things you were saying, I do remember that when he gave an interview to Marca earlier this season, last season, and it seemed to be a suggestion that, you know, I haven't been offered a new deal yet, let's see what's out there. And I remember at the time some people were saying, well, if he goes, you know. So you're right to say, is he underrated? Because I think at some level he is underrated. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, even though we've all been gushing about him over the past week. And the other thing I would say is that it's a hard debate, because Messi scored over 50 goals last season in 56 appearances. You know, Ronaldo scored, I think it was 45 in all competitions, and he was the top scorer in Italy. And these are guys who are, you know, into their mid-30s. So I think he's definitely up there. I don't think he's necessarily the best, although the boys will kill me for saying that, because, you know, you guys know more about that than me.
Well,
but
he's certainly playing more than Messi at the moment.
Well, yeah, but see, then the counter-argument to that, for example, is, well, is he Messi scored over 50 goals last season in 56 appearances. You know, Ronaldo scored, I think it was 45 in all competitions, and he was the top scorer in Italy. And these are guys who are, you know, into their mid-30s. So I think he's definitely up there. I don't think he's necessarily the best, although the boys will kill me for saying that, because, you know, you guys know more about that than me.
Well, he's
but
certainly playing more than Messi at the moment.
Well, yeah, but see, then the counter-argument to that, for example, is, well, is he in a better place than Messi? You look at the quality of the Messi goal last week, and you think, well, the guy's not lost it. And then you look at Ronaldo, who's carrying Man United on his back, and you think, well, he's still, even though he's 34, 36?
We could counter that by looking at both of those players and their performance. Like you said, there's an age gap there, but their performances across the 90 minutes. And you could make an argument that Salah contributes more over the 90, as well as the goals.
I totally would agree with that. I think with Ronaldo, you're looking at a point man who, if you get it in the final third, he'll finish it off for you. Messi now conserves his energy so that he doesn't have to make a contribution until he gets that ball that puts him in position to pull the trigger. Whereas Salah is all action. You look at his heat map and he's all down that right-hand side. And the number of goals he gets, as you rightly said, Kelly, for a winger is just extraordinary.
He's not really. I mean, he says he's a winger, but he's not. He's a self-styled winger. He's not really a winger, is he?
Well, I think that what we've seen with Ronaldo and maybe Messi in the way that they now play their game more in and around the danger area. Of course, there's a massive age gap between Mo Salah and Messi and Ronaldo. So you have to say, at the moment, of course, Mo Salah's going to be covering more, but more of the pitch and stuff, what he's doing. But what I see with Mo Salah is can he be that in those years' time, what they can give? Because we're talking about like new deal for Mo Salah and everything like that. You can't sign somebody, can't sign somebody on what they've done previously. Liverpool have to look at Mo Salah and say, will he be able to replicate? Because we're talking about
Is that
Ronaldo.
Right? Is that right? You can't sign. Surely what you've done previously.
Yeah, but we're talking about if you're going to have to sign Mo Salah, you're talking about a lot of money now going into that age of his life, where you're hoping
the reports are that they're looking at, say, De Bruyne at City and that sort of contract situation.
Well, the thing about it is that they have to sign it thinking, will we get? Because let's face it, what they've got out of him up to this point is more than enough. If Mo Salah ran his contract down and they both said, well, OK, thank you very much, you can't say that he hasn't repaid them and Liverpool haven't got the value out of him. Liverpool's problem now is, are we going to get that value 32, 33, 34, 35? That's because of what they're going to be paying for.
But then there's a counter-argument, because and I agree, and I saw somewhere, looking at some of the other players who've done well in the recent seasons, we have in this country this view that if you hit 30, your quality goes down. Dzeko's still scoring goals. Lewandowski's still scoring goals. Obviously, we've done Messi and Ronaldo still scoring goals. Suarez led Atletico Madrid to the title last season and still scores goals, scored against Barcelona last weekend. Jamie Vardy, obviously, So I wonder, it's another good debate where you could look at maybe we need to recalibrate our perception of what a player who is over 30 can offer to a football team if you're a striker. Yeah,
and sometimes we look at that. There's a couple of points to pick up, and then one is the age thing in terms of Mo Salah and whether or not in this age of super fitness that is as big a factor as it was, or whether we also look at the fact that his career did develop a little bit later. And yes, he's been playing for a long time, but he didn't come to his peak maybe until a bit later. It's not like who was it with Dele Alli, who had like hours and hours and hours of football under his belt by the age of like 23.
Yeah, but yes, with Mo Salah, he was a bit stop-start because he had done his stuff at Chelsea, then he went on loan to Roma, then he went and signed for Roma, then they got him. But the fact is that since then he doesn't miss games. No. Plays a lot of he plays a lot of football. He plays all the time for Egypt. He plays all the time for Liverpool if he's fit. And you have to think to yourself, of course, he's 30 now?
By the age of like 23.
Yeah, but yes, with Mo Salah, he was a bit stop-start because he had done his stuff at Chelsea, then he went on loan to Roma, then he went and signed for Roma, then they got him. But the fact is that since then, he doesn't miss games. No. Plays a lot of he plays a lot of football. He plays all the time for Egypt. He plays all the time for Liverpool if he's fit. And you have to think to yourself, of course, he's 30 now? It's 30 now, so he's got plenty of years left. But as long as he can then transform into that striker where just get it up to Mo Salah in this area, he's going to do the business. That's what Liverpool are going to have to be paying for, because now you look, who can buy him? If he runs it down, it's going to come down to who will take him, who will take him, because I think that probably Mo or Mane would have been gone had we not had a pandemic, because that's how Liverpool worked. They have to sell one of those big guys to then fund the next stage. So he's still there. It's really strange because I just get the impression that he's done as much as he can do for Liverpool. What more can he do for Liverpool now? This
is what's quite interesting, because this is what sort of feeds into this idea that he's slightly underrated. Because the question, Paul, that's always asked of Mo Salah is, can he do it again? Can he do it again? He's come to Liverpool. Can he really reach those heights? OK, he's had a good season. Can he have another great season? And it feels like you just keep getting a little bit more juice out of that orange every time you squeeze.
Yeah, listen, it's part of being at a big club. You know, I think, you know...
And being a big player.
And being a big player. When you play for Manchester United, the expectation week in and week out is to perform 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 every Saturday. You know, and if you don't, then it affects the team from a results point of view. What you're seeing with Mo is that, you know, right, he said he's nearly 30. You know, people go about, oh, well, you reach your peak at 28. You never know when you reach your peak. It depends on your journey to where you are to, you know what I mean? I felt the fittest when I came back from Inter Milan and I was 30, you know, and I could have gone on forever. You know, look at Ryan Giggs, played till he's 37. He's got that kind of body composition where he can keep going and keep going. I think that Liverpool needs a bin cage. He needs to sign a contract to protect the asset, you know, because there's talk about him leaving. He's been there a long time now, Mo, and, you know, you can get tired of clubs. You can't be there too long. You know, and what Alex Ferguson was so good at is having that transition, bringing players in for 4 or 5 years, moving them out, looking a bit tired, start the journey again. So I think with Mo, I think he will want to move. But when Barca come knocking, Real Madrid, I know they're not great at the moment, but when those two teams come knocking on the door, as we've seen with Suarez and Coutinho, they're off. So Liverpool needs to protect their asset at this moment.
It would have to be for free with Barcelona and Real Madrid in the current climate. So his contract's, he's got another 2 years. Yeah. So we're talking about, is he going to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona in 2 years' time? And this is what Liverpool have to think about. Yeah. When you look at Mo, he looks unbelievably fit. He does look like somebody that he lives right, he does it right. You can see when he takes his shirt off, it's amazing. Have you seen it, Kels? When he takes his shirt off.
Yeah, have I seen it?
Yes, you've seen
he takes it off. Well, he takes it off, actually not that much, because he often gets booked for it. So he's sort of limited that a little bit. But
there's a lot going on when he takes his shirt off. We're seeing Ripley stuff.
I think he looks like groundkeeper Willie from The Simpsons. You know, when he takes his shirt off.
Oh my gosh, but what the point I'm making, a roundabout
Not
way,
with the red hair.
A little bit off topic there.
Is how fit,
The Simpsons is global, we're all right.
Is how fit he looks. Can he sustain that? And then you can see Mo Salah, if he does stay at Liverpool for that time, he can easily slip into what we're seeing Ronaldo do because of how fit he'll keep himself. And I think now it is the trend for players now. They can see that over 30, they're defying the odds, these people. Lewandowski, Ronaldo, Messi, you know, they're defying the odds in respects of going on and still playing at a high level and bringing consistent performances.
But I don't think, you know, you talk about underrated, I don't think he'll ever get the credit he deserves. If we're sitting there in 10 years' time and talk about the world's best, from Pelé to George Best to Beckenbauer, Messi, Ronaldo, his name will never ever come into that category because he's always going to be underrated.
There's a really interesting aspect to that, because the players that you talk about with Ronaldo, OK, Ronaldo played some of his career at Manchester United and then had his best days really in Spain at Madrid. Messi obviously at Barcelona. Pelé, George Best, players that are seen now on YouTube clips. I wonder if there's something in being able to watch a player week in, week out that takes, I don't know, the gloss off a little bit in a way, or allows you to see their frailties in a way that we don't see when we're watching La Liga highlights or if we're watching highlights of George Best or Pelé.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to answer that, to be fair. You know, it is, but and I just think, you know, we can go back to Ronaldo, obviously. You know, Ronaldo's up there because what he did in Spain, then went to Italy, you know, done it at Juventus, you know, but it's just a shame when you see Salah all the time. I can see him in the Barca team, right? I can see him in the Real Madrid team. I can't even fit in. You know, he's not someone he won't fit in. We see Coutinho leave Liverpool, thinking he can fit in that Barca, and it's been terrible for him. But he's an instinctive player. You know, if he has to think about things, Mo Salah, he struggles. When he does things without thinking, you know, you talk about he's not a winger, he's an inside forward, you know, basically. And now he's finishing, he's unbelievable, he's a top player.
It's terrific to see these goals, because I'm of the opinion that last week's goal was a magnificent goal, but I don't necessarily think it was his best goal. But then in the context of the defence he was up against, they were on for a record 6 clean sheets in a row in the Premier League. Magnificent goal. But just listening to the chaps, I mean, there are two different huge issues that you throw up there. One is that if he does leave, it would be on a free. But then the big clubs now, certainly Bayern Munich, they picked up Lewandowski on a free. All the players they pick up, it tends to be on a free, but most of them on a free. They're very canny at spotting if there's either a schism or a move towards a player just running their contract down, and then they just pick him up very cheaply, and then they go on to really rip it up out there. But the other thing is, players themselves, if you look at Real Madrid, they look as though they're going to take Mbappe on a free if he decides to go there. PSG took Messi on a free. And the players are kind of empowered to know, I look after myself and I live my life right, so I do have that option available to me. And I wonder as well, Paul, what you were saying about the players being fitter now, you felt at your best. If, as the players look after themselves more, is there a difference between when you played and the players now in terms of the cultures? And that's why it kind of informs our mistaken view, if you like, that players, when they hit 30, are on the way down, when actually it's not the case. It's just that we are used to players of the past perhaps not living as well. Not
living as well as these guys, absolutely right.
Yeah, but then saying that, you know, I think Whitey played till he was about 36, 37.
Yeah.
I played till I was 36, 37, and we was brought up on a diet of, you know, steak and chips, and you know, but that was our culture. That was the environment. We didn't have the medicine and all the, you know, nutrients and the stuff, and that's why when I went to Inter Milan, it changed me, because we were eating fish, rice. It wasn't allowed no butter, no salt.
That's when Wenger came as well. When Wenger came, bam,
it's all gone. So we kind of got to the end of that little bit. You know, you used to have like injections every day. You know what I mean? To put stuff into your body, and but I carried on because of the desire to keep wanting to play, because I loved the game. And I'm sure right, it's the same. Play as long as you can. You know, forget about your diet. But you're right. The players, things have changed, and you look at. I even watch League One and League Two football, and they take the tops off. Right, they're ripped. They're like robots. And I'm thinking, it's just League One, League Two. The body composition has changed over the years because of the food that they eat and how they look after themselves.
I think that what else has happened is that we've been through an era watching Ronaldo and Messi do unbelievable things, superhero things on the football pitch. And so, to go back to your question, Kels, about Mo being underrated, I think he is. Because what he does on a regular basis, people are comparing it up to Ronaldo and Messi, because we're seeing them do stuff. But what he's doing is unbelievable stuff as well. You know, and he's doing it continuously, he's doing it consistently. And he is a little bit underrated because of those two guys who are there and are still there now. And so anybody that's coming after them is always going to be like, yeah, but we've seen some unbelievable stuff from those guys. We're seeing unbelievable stuff from Mo Salah, but we're not giving him the credit simply because there's other people who we've seen do unbelievable stuff. He should get the credit.
Since he came in at Liverpool, how many goals do you think he scored?
100 and something.
And who do you think scored more than him? How many players?
Since his time
yeah,
he's been
since
there,
he's come into Liverpool.
I'd probably say Messi and Ronaldo.
No, I mean in the Premier League.
In the Premier League, Harry Kane.
OK, and by how many do you think he's got that?
Wow, this.
Do you think they're quite close? No, only because I'm going to show you them in a second.
Okay.
It's not to catch you out.
No,
it's just a question that I think is interesting.
So how many more would you say?
Shearer must be up there.
No, but in the time that Mo Salah's been at Liverpool,
he's
been at Liverpool, who's scored more goals than him? Do you think?
Like I'd say Harry Kane.
Yeah, I'd say Harry Kane.
That's probably it.
Probably it. OK, let's take a look.
Sergio Aguero.
Who has scored more than...
Nobody.
And it's Mo Salah by 13 since he's come into Liverpool. And I just think that the reason that I delayed that a little bit is because I think it talks about that preconception
I think
about
you're
him.
right. I just love the attempt to get Sergio Aguero.
But then you look at it, you think to yourself, brilliant to see Jamie Vardy's name in there as well. When you see the age of Jamie Vardy, again, somebody that's going into his 30s still scoring goals. But that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what I'm saying. You're looking at those numbers, and simply because of the players that we've had to watch and how great they've been, you look at that and you think, that's amazing numbers. Yeah. Those are amazing numbers, what Mo's putting up.
I think part of the reason is a cross between what the chaps have been saying. We don't appreciate him enough is precisely because we see them every week. With Messi, Ronaldo, Lewandowski, all the others, we just see the highlights and we think, oh my goodness, they're brilliant, aren't they? You know, whereas if we saw just the highlights of Salah, were he to be playing in Germany, France, Spain or Italy, we'd be saying
the same thing.
Yeah, but I think also, with those stats, they're surprising because you kind of forget about Liverpool because what happened last season. You know, you only can remember if they won the title, then you'll see his stats. You know, it's like anything. You know, you have to win a trophy or a league and you go, wow, he scored 100. But if you don't win anything at the end of the season, you don't understand how great he's been for Liverpool from an individual point of view.
Kane, for example, has 3 golden boots. Spurs haven't won anything, but he really doesn't get the credit he deserved. When they started talking about £150 million in the summer, is he worth it?
Yes, he
scores 3 golden boots. He's
Still
got World Cup
13 less than Mo Salah. Well, he's just listen.
Ruthless.
We're talking about Mo Salah, of course, and Ziad Mansour, who's the Premier League reporter at beIN Sport, joins us now. Ziad, are we underestimating Mo Salah, and is it happening across the world, do you think, in the way that it happens in England?
Well, I think at the moment, first of all, thank you for having me. First of all, I think we are maybe underestimating more because, as you said, we see that every week. It's becoming like something normal for us to see him scoring every week. I think we will appreciate that with time when we look back at his career because he's been magnificent. And as an Arab, of course, we are really proud of Mo because we're talking about him as one of the best players in the world at the moment, if not, well, let's say top 3, because his numbers are really amazing. I'm glad you've asked Ian the question about the goals because I was about to say also Harry Kane. If you asked me, I thought that, but I didn't really think it was Mo. That's how much of an influence he had that we sometimes don't notice. I'm not trying to compare with Messi and Ronaldo. They are on a different planet, but they played for big teams who had a huge cast around them also to help. When Mo came to Liverpool, Liverpool were building towards something. Now they have a great team, but before they didn't have that great team. So what he did is absolutely amazing, I think.
And what do you think in terms of the change in his game since he's come to Liverpool?
Well, the thing is, he always had the talent. We always knew about Mo in the Arab area, but we didn't think that he would be scoring as many goals as he did because we looked at him as maybe part of the attack, as a winger more than what we see at the moment. And he still plays on that side of the pitch. So he's not an out-and-out striker, and still he's scoring these amazing goals. We had faith in him that he would be a great, really see that coming. And when he moved to Liverpool, we were surprised by his first season. And maybe also we were thinking like what people in England were thinking, that could be a one-season thing. But he proved himself, and he really takes care of himself more. His diet, his lifestyle, and he's really greedy. And when I say greedy, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about football-wise. He always want to win things. And people talk about maybe him scoring goals and sometimes maybe being a bit selfish of him. But you also have to look at his assists because he also is a team player, which is a bit contradictory. It's saying greedy, but at the same time, he wants the team to win.
Yeah, that is something that's said about Mo Salah, and is probably true to say about Mo Salah. It's also true that he does have a really good assist record. What is also true on top of that is a lot of those might be deflected shots that fall into the path of, for example, Sadio Mane. But look, just in this season, 9 goals and 3 assists for him, and he's top of the pile in that.
Well, the thing with Mo is that yes, he says he's a winger, but then he does show traits of being a striker because there's certain things where I see Mo, he could have passed it, but I said to myself, I wouldn't have passed that. But like the thing, when you look at his assists, he's got assists. That once I get in there, once I get in that area, I'm not looking for anyone else. It literally has to be two players blocking me off, and he's standing there free for me to pass it to him. So he's somebody that when you get in the box, I don't complain. I wouldn't complain about Mo. Oh God, he's selfish. He shouldn't, because that's what Mo Salah does. He scores and he assists. So when he doesn't pass to you, you just say, yeah, but he will at some stage.
I think that's why he's probably done so well, and we probably not look back at it. The relationship between him and Mane, we're not too sure whether they're best mates on the pitch or off the pitch, but I think when they're on the pitch, there's a kind of healthy competition now. About scoring, because Mane's just the same. He wants to score goals. He wants to get accolades and records that Salah's got. So I think there's that kind of rivalry when they're both on the pitch, and sometimes it can go overboard when, as rightly said, Mane's in a better position and Salah takes the wrong option.
And vice versa.
And vice versa, yeah.
So when you think of like Teddy Sheringham and then Andy Cole, they didn't like each other, but do you think they pass to each other more than Salah and Mane do?
I think Teddy would have done, because Teddy wasn't like Andy Cole, who's a natural goal scorer.
Teddy's about
helping and assisting. But I think with these two, I think there's times when they know Mo's on or Mo knows Mane's on, and they're thinking, I'll just turn the blow, and I go, or wave and go, sorry, mate, I didn't see you. One of those games, you know what I mean?
But Incy, when I watch them now,
I feel like
you can always tell. I tell you how you can always tell, Gov, with the strikers, is if they celebrate with each other. Well, if they celebrate with each other, you know it's fine, and they do. They do celebrate with each other. I think there was a time where there was. Well,
there was one falling out, wasn't there, when Mane was
came off,
But the best part of all of that was Firmino coming up the tunnel afterwards, and he saw that Mane and Salah went.
And it's nice.
Loving the drama.
It was healthy, but they've obviously sorted that out, because at some stage you still see now, you see them looking for each other. You do see them looking for each other sometimes.
Yeah, it works. And if they're both getting on the score sheet, then they're not going to be. There's not going to be too much drama between the two of them. Ziad, you said earlier on it's really important that he's an Arab. How big an icon is he in the Arabic world?
Well, I think at the moment he's the biggest icon there is for in the Arab world. Although if we look also, we have Riyad Mahrez. I think we won maybe more Premier League titles and other titles with Man City. Of course, it was amazing what he did with Leicester City. But the consistency that Mo has and the role that he plays with the team is really appreciated. I'm not trying, of course, to cause controversy here, but of course, Riyad was born in France and lived in France, but he's Algerian. But Mo is an actual player who was born in Egypt, lived there, and then made his way to the top. So that's why he's more appreciated. People look at him as an example of things that could happen if you are really taking care of your lifestyle, and if you have the talent that you can express yourself. Just a quick point, I want to go back. I was talking about him with the assist and the goals. I also remember covering a lot of games, because I covered a lot of Liverpool games. There was the lead game as an example, where Trent was bombing forward to a lot of times, and Salah was moving back and covering for Trent, and he was playing more like a wing back or something like that, but he was doing the job for the team. So there is the side of him where we say he is greedy, but also, as I said, a team player.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ziad, on the back of Kelly's question, how much pressure is he under? Because when he goes back to play international football, there are so many demands of him from the public, from the media. There have been times when he's had to be holed up in his hotel room. When he doesn't appear, there's lots of stress and controversy around it. So the numbers, in some respects, actually look even better when you consider the pressure that he's under. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, of course he's under a huge pressure, especially in Egypt. Egypt is a country that is really addicted to football. They love their football and they know their football. And Mo is an icon there. So especially when he goes back and plays with the national team, there's a lot of pressure and expectation, I'm trying to make the comparison, but the same with Messi when he goes with Argentina and plays with Argentina. They are expecting that they will win because they have Messi. Same thing with Egypt. They expect that they win every game when Mo is there. But he's like composed more. He doesn't really feel the pressure. I think he actually maybe thrives on the pressure, and nothing more than the penalty that he scored that led Egypt to the World Cup, which was scored in added time in that game. It was played in Cairo, and a lot of fans were there, so it was a lot of pressure. But he was cool, and he took it and scored it. Mo likes the pressure, and I think he thrives on that.
Yeah, he's certainly dealing with it beautifully. Ziad, been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Much appreciated.